Well, hi everybody. Welcome to the Cave of Secrets. I just love doing that every now and then. It's just such a fun thing to do. There's nothing like an echo chamber to start your day. This is Stratosphere Lounge episode 69, and it's great to be here as always. Welcome everyone. We've got a great show, I think an interesting show today, something I've been looking forward to doing for a while. Boy, 69. We're getting there. That's just amazing. I have to tell you, every time I start that that Petula Clark song, which you don't get to hear if you're on watching this on YouTube, which, as a matter of fact, very few people get to hear because we only run it live. But the opening theme song for this show is "I Know a Place" by Petula Clark. We're actually looking into what it would cost to license it at YouTube. It's expensive, but it's just, I don't know, just makes me happy. And every time that song starts, I feel good. And every time we get right to the end of that song and those trumpets come up, bam, 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 it's like, I'm good to go. So anyway, it's good to see everybody. It's good to be back as usual. Trying to, as I said, to keep this time more or less nailed down to Wednesdays at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. And that's exactly what time it is just right now. So a lot to talk about tonight, some interesting ideas and some questions. I'll probably be doing a bit more of a setup than with the questions tonight because there's been a lot of stuff I've been kind of sitting on that I've been waiting to talk to you guys about. And now I have a chance to actually do it. So I guess maybe the thing to do is just get a little sip of water and get right into this thing. So anyway, here's kind of the basics before we get into it. This is the content suggestions and that sort of thing about the episodes. Not just suggestions from you guys, but content changes and new stuff and all that other jazz. So let me just back up a little bit. You've heard me talk for 3 or 4 episodes now about what an enormous relief it was to get that DVD out. Really, for the last several months, I've been undergoing a kind of just real emotional and physical and to some degree almost like a spiritual exhaustion. Just beat, really just beat, and out of elastic and out of energy. And sometime about 2-3 weeks ago, I found myself sitting here in the office looking at the screensaver for about 45 minutes and actually had trouble speaking. I was that tired. I really was really just blown, just out. Went to the doctor's office and I pulled into the parking space and put the car in park and fell asleep for half an hour with the motor running. So he said, get a lot of rest. And I did, and it did me a lot of good. So I wanted to put that in there only to say that a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about tonight is stuff that's been stuff I've been wanting to do in many cases almost since we opened the doors back in October. And the problem has been just so many variables. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that before, but sometimes you can have so many plates spinning, and it's not so much that all of these plates are requiring that much effort so much as it is everything has to happen after one thing falls into place, and then everything after that kind of downstream has to happen, and that kind of thing. And we were just seemed to be, I blew it up a little bit on the feedback here for these things, was running into that all over the place. There's so many things that I wanted to do were dependent on other things happening first. And anyway, to make a long story short, pretty much all those things that had to happen have happened. So that's good news. We're still in the old office, as you can see, but we're going to be moving into a new office space. Hope to be in there by 1st of June, if not sooner. I think I might have mentioned before. I've mentioned before we're looking for a new office space. We actually have a lease in there. So if we can get into that new space, that office space will be 5 times what we've got here. The Stratosphere Lounge show will look a lot better because we're going to have a very big room, and we'll have, I think, a big mural behind me that says Stratosphere Lounge. So that'll be kind of cool. That's our office dog you may have heard, who's not officially here, by the way, in case you happen to be one of the building managers. So anyway, I had this gigantic kind of reboot because I just this kind of goes to the issue of the new programming and the whole idea of new programming, the way the site's been, all this stuff. So it's kind of a long story, which is why I'm getting started on it early. Here's the problem that I've had. And the great thing about this show, by the way, is, I always had a chance just to talk to everybody out there as if they're my friends, because I consider you my friends. I never in a million years thought I'd be in this chair running this kind of a business. And to the degree that I am, I've always felt that that you're, you certainly are, partners in a way. I mean, this work is done for people out there like you, and the people who come to the Stratosphere Lounge and watch these things are really kind of the hardcore of the hardcore. But this thing is going to be a little tough to explain, although some of you may get it instantly. I think one of the reasons I was facing that kind of emotional exhaustion, for those of you who worried about me and not getting enough sleep and, really doing all that stuff, it's not, I don't want to say it's from overwork. I think it's fair to say it's from over worry about the work. That's really it. The delays on that DVD were just spiritually just soul destroying to me. I think we took a question last week or the week before, and we were just wrapping up, and somebody said, one of our people in our live comment stream here on Ustream said, well, did you learn anything from the experience of this DVD being, 4 months late, 5 months late, or 6 months late, or whatever? And I said, yeah, what I learned from the experience is don't make promises you can't keep. Don't talk about product until it's on the shelf. And what I realized there was that I did learn a lesson from that. And the lesson I learned is that I consider myself to be a scrupulously honest person. I've always been that way. And so what I realized was that my best intentions and my most, I was going to say most accurate expectations, but I'm always an optimist. I always expect things to take much less time than they actually do. I never in my life have been able to accurately judge how long things take. I always just assume everything's going to happen in the shortest time that it's ever happened in the past. That's really it's not how it works. So I think the thing with the DVD and everything else kind of boils down now to this. I learned that no matter how good my intentions are, those intentions don't supersede the reality of the physical world, and that's something I've known for a long time. It's just hard for me to get kind of emotionally connected to, I guess. So the big lesson out of this DVD delay is simply that we don't talk about things or promise things until we've got them ready to go. So that was an important lesson. And I spent a lot of time really stressing over the fact that everything wasn't really ready. And we had some real customer service issues that we had to figure out. But I feel like all those customer service issues have been figured out, and that to the degree that we were able to put out those fires we have, people are even right now in the comment stream are saying how much they like the DVDs, how good they look, which makes me very, very happy. And so I want to talk to you about where we're going next. And I want to do that as honestly as possible, because this is, in fact, a feedback loop. My job is to provide, ultimately, when you get right down to it, my business is to provide people like you, especially Strato Loungers who are kind of the hardcore of the hardcore, provide you guys with stuff that you want to see and stuff that's valuable to you. So this isn't just me making an announcement so much as it is, in fact, as I said, kind of a feedback loop where we're kind of working to make everybody as happy as we possibly can. So before I tell you about the new stuff that's coming, I want to talk to you honestly about the single big problem that I have. It's a business problem, but it's also an ethical problem, it's a moral problem, it's a philosophical problem, it's all of those things together. Here's my problem. My problem is I have for years, ever since 10 years now, since I started with eject, I've been putting this work out because I think it's important, and I think it's it's something I have to do. It's not anywhere I ever intended to end up. It's not anything I ever planned on doing. I do it because I feel like I have to get it out, and I based on the feedback I hear, a lot of people feel like it gives them encouragement and hope, and those are the things that we need more than anything these days: is hope, encouragement, and philosophical ammunition. So my attitude towards this has always been, since it's something I feel compelled to have to do, and since it's something that seems to be important for the country, I just have always just put it out there and tried to get it going out as wide as I possibly can. And that's why we never had a single commercial on the firewalls. I don't control what PJTV does. That's entirely, I'm a contractor to them. I deliver work on a regular basis. And by the way, everything I'm going to be talking about doesn't mean any of the PJTV stuff is changing. The PJTV relationship stays exactly the same as it is. Everything that you're seeing now for me on PJTV will still be there. This is an addition. So I've always felt like I wanted this stuff to go out there free, and I wanted it to go out to as many people as I could possibly get on it. Now, here's where I start to have a business problem and a bit of an intellectual and moral and problem I have to crack. Here's the problem. In order to do this additional work, I have to run a company, and in order to make that company work, I have to get subscribers and members, and that's just the reality of it. We've got a cadre of people who've already been subscribers and members and have been since we opened the doors. And bless you people, because I know a lot of that's mostly just out of affection and support. But if we're going to grow this membership and grow the ability to do things, then what I have to do is I have to make membership more valuable. I have to add the incentive for people to be paying for this stuff. But here's the critical point, and I understood this from the beginning. This was never up for discussion internally for me. At the same time as having to increase the benefits of being a member, I also realized that the one thing I absolutely cannot do, will not do, is I can't start charging for stuff that I've already been putting out for free. That's just, I could, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's not even unethical. It's just bad customer relations. If I were to, for example, if I were to make the Stratosphere Lounge a members only thing, okay, that'd be a benefit for membership. That would drive some people maybe to become members. But I've been doing Stratosphere Launch for years now for free, and I'm not going to change the conditions of that. Likewise for the big ticket items like Afterburner and Firewall. They've been going out free forever, and they need to keep going out for free. And they're going to. So what I realized I had to do was, in order to get the membership numbers up to give me the financial ability to do even more work and better work and higher quality work, I had to do new stuff. I had to come up with more stuff. Now, may seem odd to you that I would open this little treatise by talking about kind of exhaustion, physical and emotional and mental exhaustion. But the fact is, that was a real episode. It wasn't like just having like a tired weekend. It was like a real kind of physically, I'm mumbling. I'm walking in circles kind of thing. So here's what I began to realize, and this sort of thing been floating around in my head for a long time. What I began to really fully consciously realize is that I stress about working and getting content out a lot more than I spend time actually doing it. And I began to take a look at some of the bad habits I have and some of the habits that seem to be kind of unique, not only to show business people, creative people, but also I think are pretty much common throughout most people. I'll give you a quick little example of this. The firewalls I've been wanting to do firewalls again since we opened the website. We haven't done one yet, although we did shoot 2 on Monday. The Afterburners, on the other hand, have come out regularly every 2 weeks because I have to be there. I have an entire staff of people at PJTV who are depending on me and so on. And what it really comes down to is it's the power of the deadline. Now, that's not the only reason we haven't done them prior. We've had a lot of different things in the air in terms of our space, our studio space, where these things are going to go, where they're going to live, who's going to do them, how they're going to get done. Lots and lots and lots of stuff there. But I was stressing about all this stuff, and the only stuff I actually wasn't stressing about was the PJTV stuff, because I go in there on Tuesdays and I just deliver it. And I will run right up against the deadline for those things. And I had a very interesting discussion about this just today. Most of you out there, most people, I would say, are the kind of people who, if you have a homework assignment that's given to you on Friday, some people, and you're the successful ones out there, get the work done on Friday night or Saturday morning or whatever, you enjoy your weekend. But all the rest of us pretty much do our Monday morning homework late on Sunday night. And I began to realize that all of the stress that was causing me all of this fatigue was due to the fact that I was telling myself that I should be getting this work done ahead of deadlines, and I didn't let the deadlines be my friend. I didn't treat them correctly. I had a great example just this last weekend. We shot 2 new firewalls on Monday, which is great. I knew those scripts had to be in the mailbox, ready to go by Monday morning. I took the weekend off and didn't do anything. I thought, I'll just sit back, relax, get a little relaxation, take it easy. I'll probably write one of them on Saturday, write the other one on Sunday afternoon. Well, Saturday came and went, and I stressed about not getting it done on Saturday. Sunday afternoon came and went, and I stressed even harder about not getting it done on Sunday. But by the time Sunday night came along, I knew they had to be done the next day, so I wrote them both on Sunday night, and they were both good. What I learned from that was that I shouldn't have been stressing about it on Saturday, and I shouldn't have been stressing about it on Sunday. I should have just said, your deadline's Monday morning, which means you'll write these things on Sunday night, and then I could have relaxed for the whole weekend. That's actually may not sound like a big deal to you, but it's actually a pretty big deal for me. Somebody mentioned earlier I may have a touch of ADD. I don't like this. Idea that everybody in society has a psychological diagnosis, and God knows if there's a diagnosis that I don't want to have attached to me, that's it, because a lot of people use that as an excuse for just not getting things done, or the whole victim thing or whatever. But I did get tested on that, and apparently there's like 20 questions, and I got all 20. So here's what it comes down to. Deadlines actually are my friends, and the way to get this extra work done is to set up a series of extra deadlines. And for those of you that are worried that I may be overworking myself or creating more exhaustion problems, what I've come to realize is no, actually just the opposite. Having a week with built-in deadlines at certain times reduces my stress. It doesn't add to it, because without them, I think about it all the time. I'm working 18/7. 18/7, I'm worried about things. With set deadlines of the week, I don't have to. I know when I have to sit down because I don't have any time left. So here we go. With all that said, I want to tell you about some of the things that are going to be happening. I talked to you earlier about the problem I have with this membership versus non-membership stuff. I have to provide new content that is members-only content because I have to create an additional incentive for people to become members. It's just a business problem that I have. At the same time, I want to make sure that the people who aren't members for whatever reason, some people just can't afford it, some people choose not to. The problem with the internet is that the internet is free. I think Jeremy said it once best. He said, trying to make money on internet television is tough because television is free and the internet is free, and internet television is expected to be free. So I understand a bit about human nature and I understand how things work. People have been getting free ice cream for a long time. They don't want that free ice cream taken away, and I don't blame them, and I'm not going to. So here's how I think we want to do this. What we are going to do, it's not like we might do it, we're going to do it. We're going to be getting new office space that's going to allow me to shoot things easier and faster. I can just literally walk into a corner of the room, turn on some cameras, the lights stay in place, everything, that kind of thing. So, and by the way, people have said I need some help. I've got a great staff member named Desiree Gabrielle, who's our operations manager. She's been terrific. And if we need more people, we'll do it. But right now it's 2 of us, maybe a third. PJTV's got a staff of, 20, 30 probably. So here's what we're going to do. I need to make both half of these equations happy. I need to add additional members-only content that is incentivizing people to become members, and at the same time, I have to make sure that the people who aren't members aren't upset by this. I don't want them to feel like they're being left out. I don't want them to feel like they're being excluded for whatever reason. It's a tough thing to balance. It really, really is. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be adding 3 new shows. Right now we have channels that are, kind of probably went up too early, like the Aurora channel and the Big Bad Problem channel and so on. Because those movies are coming, I just got to get this other thing up and running first. Probably shouldn't have had those channels open until it was time to really start putting out regular content on that. But we're going to add 3 new shows, and we're going to start adding. They'll be up certainly this month in May. And 2 of these are going to be daily content. So here's the general plan. I'm going to start doing a show in the next week or 2, and it's going to be every day. And it's basically going to look a little bit like a hot seat on PJTV. I'm going to call it Time Over Target, thanks to somebody who made the suggestion here in the Stratosphere Lounge episode. And Time Over Target is going to basically be this. We're going to take suggestions from members, not Facebook subscribers, but from paying members, and we're gonna basically have a kind of background of like the smart bomb footage from Gulf One, these kind of things of that kind of look of incoming smart bombs, and that'll be behind me. And basically, somebody's going to email me an idea or a topic, and I will say good morning, everybody. It's May 25th, 2014. I'm Bill Whittle. This is Time Over Target. Today's question comes from member so on and so forth, who wants to know, do you believe the Russians will back up in the Crimea? And the second I say that, a little countdown clock is going to start, and I'm going to have a look at a timer in the studio, and I'm going to do either 2 or 3 minutes, probably 3 minutes, because I don't even know if I can get out in 2 minutes. 3 minutes on that issue, 3 minutes to the second, and wind it down. And then that's Time Over Target for today. We'll see you tomorrow. So Time Over Target will be members-only content. It'll be available every single day at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time, 5 a.m. Pacific Time. It'll be 3 minutes on the breaking stories of the day. We'll shoot probably on Mondays and Thursdays. On Thursdays, we'll shoot Friday's show and Monday's show. And then on Monday, we'll shoot Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday shows, so that by the time I leave the office on Friday, Monday's show is already loaded, just waiting for the schedule thing, and then it'll just drop. So that'll be every day, 5 days a week, because then I can have my weekends off and not take the work with me. And that'll be basically me doing 3 minutes on the hottest breaking news stories of the day. What we'll do then, what my assistant will do then, is that at the end of the day on Friday, she's going to pull together the best of Time Over Target, which may be 4 or 5 minutes of the most interesting or pithy or funny or insightful or predictive things that happened during the previous week. And best of Time Over Target will be assembled, and that'll go up on Saturday on Facebook, on YouTube, and we'll push it out as wide as we can, and that'll give non-members a chance to see it, to get the best of it, and to get as many of those insights as they can. And that'll be completely free, best of Time Over Target. And I think that's probably the best compromise I can do. So that way the members have premium content that they get every day that makes their membership worth their $9 or $10 a month. And at the same time, it provides new content for everybody, member or not. So as long as we're putting out the best of, and that's a substantial show, 5, 6, 7 minutes, that kind of thing, you still get it. You just get it at the end of the week instead of during the week, and you get less of it. The members get more of it. So that's the model for that. And then I'm also going to do a second show called, right now I can't think of a better title than Bill Me. Bill Me, it'll be named the title, but it'll be Bill/Me. And what Bill Me is going to be is it's going to be kind of Stratosphere Lounge, except it's going to be one-on-one, again, with a member. So the beautiful thing about this is if I had set up these two shows where every single day I had to come in and do them every single day, I'd get in trouble because I have a lot of things to do and I'm all over the place, as you well know. But the beautiful thing about this is time over target, I shoot 2 days a week, not 5 days a week. I don't have to shoot them at 5 a.m. I shoot the next day's show anywhere during the day. So I'll shoot, like I said, we'll shoot Thursday. On Thursday, we'll shoot Friday and Monday's show. And then on Monday, we'll shoot Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday shows. And that's really only an hour of my time. My assistant will take the questions from the members. I'll have the stuff done there. She's got some skill with some editing. So I'll just basically hand over the green screen stuff. I'll have already built the background footage. I'll have already built the opening graphics. She'll stick them on there. She'll put them together. She'll upload them directly to Vimeo for the case of the membership thing. I don't have to touch it once I do it. She'll get them up there. They'll be ready to drop. They'll automatically drop at 5 a.m. And then once a week, she'll pull together the best, and we can push that out for weekend content for time over target. Now, at the same time, as I said, the beauty and the only way this will actually work is for me to do the same thing with this second show, which is much, much more personal and much less clinical. Bill Me is basically something I'm going to do because I've had a lot of requests for this, and it's my favorite thing of all. I love doing the Stratosphere Lounge, and of all the things I do in my life, all the content and stuff that I have to write and stuff that I have to put out by a mile, my favorite thing is Stratosphere Lounge, but even more so than that, I love going to speaking events. I don't like the travel. I hate the travel. Hate it. I hate the hotel rooms. I love doing the speaking, but more than anything, I love the time after the speaking. I love the Q&A, and I especially love getting out there and getting a chance to meet and talk to all you people. It's so amazing to me when I do those things where people say, "Would you mind if we take a picture?" It's like, mind? Are you kidding? I love it. I learned so much. I learned so much from you people. I can't tell you how much I learned. Not only learned, actually, what I learned from you is much less important than the emotional charge I get out of talking to you fine folks. Just the support and the encouragement and the just the love. It's just a tremendously charging experience. So the second new show will be called Bill Me, and basically it's going to be split screen. And instead of somebody submitting a question, what it's going to be is a 10 or 15 minute conversation with a member, just you and me. And I don't care what it's about. And that one will be done slightly differently. Again, I have to make it an opportunity for members. So only members will have the opportunity to do the split screen and call in. And once you've done one, we're going to probably put you to the make sure that we don't get another one until we've gone through everybody. We don't want one person monopolizing this, and no offense if your name happens to be Tiemens, but this is something where every member should get a chance to do it if they want to, and we'll basically set it up so that we'll shoot those things. I don't know when exactly, but let's say it's on Thursday at 2:00 Pacific time. So we'll send out emails, and if you've got a webcam, if you've got FaceTime, we'll figure out how to do the hookup, probably through Skype. And I can also do it through Ustream. And then Bill Me will be much different. I genuinely don't care. You want to talk about Benghazi for 10, 15 minutes? It's fine. You want to talk about baseball to the degree that I know anything about baseball? That's fine. It's not up to me. It's up to you. And so that will be in everybody's mailbox, or I should say for the members, that'll be available at 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, that kind of thing. And again, that'll be for the members. And again, somebody else will take the best moments. My partner Desiree, until we find somebody else, will do a best of Bill Me, and that'll go out on Sundays on Facebook, so that everybody will get a chance to see the best of the conversation that happened earlier that week. So this is the balance I have to try to strike. I have to make sure that the members who are already there have been just incredible troopers and just incredibly loyal. But if I want people to part with $9.95 a month, which is significant, I've got to up the value of it significantly. So I think Time Over Target and Bill Me are daily content, 5 days a week. That is easy for me because it doesn't involve any writing. I glossed over this earlier, but this is actually more important than the other two. We just shot 2 firewalls. somewhere in the middle of May, once we get the final announcement made, in terms of hosting it and so on, we're going to do a firewall a week. It's not going to be every other week like Afterburner. We're doing a firewall a week. That's my obligation. That's what I'm going to be delivering, is a firewall a week. Those are the biggest part of the work I have to do. But again, you get them done on Sunday night. We shoot them on Monday. So what's going to be new is a firewall week. And by the way, the firewalls are free to everybody. We're not going to put those behind the membership firewall. We're not going to hold on to them. We're just going to get them out there. That's kind of the signature piece, and those are going to be coming. So if you like Afterburner, you're going to get an Afterburner every other week with PJTV, and you're going to get a firewall every week. I've been playing around with new graphics for firewall, by the way, and I really think it's just going to be mind-boggling to look at. It's going to be really different. So there'll be a firewall a week for everybody. Again, that won't be members-only content. I've been doing that, and I'm not going to take anything away from people. That's going out there free. And then there's two other things that are coming up, one and one. There's one other kind of content that I'm going to do, and I'm committed to doing, because I've been talking about this forever, and I finally found a forum that I like. We've been talking about this man cave thing, kind of evolving Stratosphere Lounge out, that sort of thing. I'll talk about changes to Stratosphere Lounge in a minute too. But right now, just for the sake of this shorthand, I'm sure I'll find a better title for this. But right now, we are planning to do a show which we will shoot once a month, which is manageable. And I think I'm going to call it Take 8. Maybe we'll call it something else, 8 Ball. I don't know, whatever. But right now, the general plan is this. I've been saying forever and ever and ever that I think it would be fun. I want to do a show where it's me and my friends who are your friends too, guys like Alfonso, Rachel, and Jeremy Boring, and Ben Shapiro, and Andrew. Well, not Andrew Clavin. He's not a friend of mine. He's he's my arch enemy. But those kind of guys, and then also bring in a couple people, and I also think we might also be able to get some of our celebrity friends to make an appearance. I know we can get some of them without question. Guys like Dwight Schultz would be a great example. And I want to limit it to maybe 4 or 5 at the absolute top end. And I couldn't figure out a format for this that I liked, and then finally I did. What we're going to do is we're going to find, the nice thing about living in LA is there's scores, if not hundreds, of these tiny little theaters, little itty-bitty little theaters. Mostly they're called rehearsal spaces, but they've got a stage and they've got an audience anywhere from 20 to 100. That would certainly be the top end. Little things. This is the Man Cave show. Maybe we'll go back to calling it Cavemen in the Man Cave. I don't know. It doesn't matter what we'll call it. But here's how it's going to work. Once a month, starting this month, we're going to go out there and we're going to shoot the show. And the way I see the show happening now is it's going to take place on a stage with a couple of couches and comfy chairs, and we might put a little lamp in there, and we might hang a picture of Ronald Reagan on a wire. But if it's just to suggest a living room, it's a Twilight Zone living room. It's a Lost in Space set, right, with a big open black space behind it. There's just not supposed to be set. It's not a living room set. It's just a couple of couches and some chairs. And we're going to have a showtime at 8 o'clock. We'll have a snack bar and libations out there. People will file in. We'll dim the lights. I'll come out and I'll introduce our guests. And like I said, there might be a total of 4 of us. So there's like a cadre of regulars, guys like Jeremy and Ben and hopefully Alfonso, Rachel, and Lyda Loudon and Gina Loudon and Clavin and so on. And then there's a bunch of other people who are friends of mine who I don't get to see as often as I would like. Guys like Mike Walsh and the other commentators who may be in town or that kind of thing. And I think we can probably get some celebrity appearances. I feel pretty confident that we probably can. As I mentioned, Dwight Schultz, one of my favorite people in the world, who's not just a great conservative commentator on the radio. Dwight's been in everything. And there's a lot of guys out there who have been in a lot of movies, are really just really interesting, fun people. And we'll get as many of those as we can. But the beautiful thing about this is it's going to be live. And that came to me late. because a show like this needs an audience. It really does. It needs an audience. As Steve Cruiser, somebody just put in the comment section, that's exactly the kind of person I'm talking about. We'll get Scott come out for the weekend, or we'll get Steve Green to come out for the weekend, those kind of guys and girls. And what we'll do is we'll have a live audience, and I think the way we'll do the format is we will basically not have any idea what we're going to be talking about. I love that. It's just so interesting to me. By the way, as I said before many times, I think one of the things that would make this interesting would be to have those of us up on stage who are so inclined to get pretty liquored up during this. I don't mean like roaring drunk. I mean just have a beer or a scotch or something, relax. Because I think the thing that I'm trying to get to here is, and I think the thing that would be interesting for an audience, I think the kind of thing that people would really like to see is what we look like and what we sound like when we're talking politics to each other, because we're all friends. Jeremy's one of my best friends in the world. He's on the other side of the wall behind me here. Ben Shapiro is a friend of mine who I admire enormously. Lyda and her mom Gina are terrific people. They're friends of mine. All these people, even Andrew Clavin is occasionally interesting. So I think people would really be interested in what we talk, how we talk when we're not on camera. And I think that's really kind of cool. I know some people have seen panel shows, or been to conventions where I might be on a panel with Jeremy and Dwight and Clavin. But a panel is a panel. And even interview shows are like, part 2 of our discussion today, we're going to talk about Benghazi. Bill, what do you think about it? It's not going to be like that at all. At all. If it's like that, it's a failure. I don't want it to be like that. What I want it to be like is I want it to be 5 friends sitting up there on couches on a stage, relaxing, having a good time and laughing. And then the format of the show would be each one of us on the panel. We go around a couple times, and people in the audience raise their hands, and we pick one. We rotate who picks one, so I'm not picking them all. You, ma'am, right there, you in the lovely yellow dress. And we hand that person a microphone, and they ask us anything they want to. Anything they want to. And then we would talk about it for about 10 or 15 minutes, which means that if we do once a month and we take 8 questions, and they're 15 minutes each, 10 to 15, that means the total run time is about 2 hours, the shoot time. If we have 8 questions, that means that we can break those questions out in the editing room, and we'll cover it with multicams. And that's all I did for 10 years before I did Eject, was cover these kind of conversation shows and multicam coverage. So basically what you'll get is a segment on gay marriage, let's say. And we'll be joking about it and kidding about it and serious about it, or whatever the case may be. And we'll have laughter from the audience, or boos or hisses, or whatever. And with 8 segments shot once a month, that means 1 a week for members and 1 a week for everybody. And again, I'm trying to find that balance. So if you're a member, you get 2 of these a week. If you're not, you get 1 for free. It's extra. It's fun. So 1 a week goes out on YouTube, which also helps generate interest in the show and presumably generates interest in membership. And then another 1 a week if you happen to be a member, which is in the members only section. You go to the website. If you're not a member, you'll never see it. We have the website set up so that if you are a logged in member, certain things appear and disappear. It's kind of magic. So that would be really, really, really fun. I'm really, really looking forward to that more than anything. Just kick back, relax, put your feet up, joke, call each other's names, a lot of towel snapping, a lot of just grab-assing fun. And if every now and then some furious progressive manages to sneak in there and ask us a tough question, even better, right? Even better. Now, the super nice thing about this show is that's something we can have people come to. We'll probably charge some reasonable ticket thing, something real manageable, and we'll offer. We're not going to make it exclusively to members, but we'll offer it to members first, and we'll reserve as many as we can. And if it turns out that we've got so many people wanting to be a part of this thing, we'll just move into a bigger space. But it would be once a month. It would be regular. And if we can't fill it with memberships after we we'll open it to the members, let's say a week before, 2 weeks before the shoot date, and we'll let them sign up for a week. And after a week, we'll push it out on Facebook, and anybody else who wants to come can come. And if it turns out that we have that we just booked, we're just full, we'll just keep getting bigger spaces. So that kind of thing. And again, half will be members only, but the other half once a week will be for everybody. And this is the best balance I know how to strike. I have a serious problem, and that is I got to increase subscribers, and I've got to make it something while at the same time not alienating people who either aren't able to or choose not to be subscribers. It's a tough line to walk. So there's that. And then the final thing on this, and then I'll start taking some questions here, is I think 2 shows ago or last show, people just spontaneously started mentioning Straton. It's like, what now? Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to try and bring somebody on whose entire purpose will be to basically work on that. But I'm going to start looking at setting up a convention, and we'll start small, and we'll figure out how many people are going to come and then we'll get a venue and we'll do it. We'll do a 2-day convention, and I don't know where we're going to do it yet. There is BuckCon. This is a great thing about the live comment stream. BuckCon suggested that last show should be the audience show should be called Speakeasy. That's actually a marvelous idea. I'm so glad I thought of it. Thanks, BuckCon. That's a great title. That really is. That's the best title I've heard so far. Anyway, yeah, Speakeasy is nice. That's really nice. In any event, just real quickly, the idea of doing a convention is kind of cool. I've been an MC and speaker at several of these David Horowitz Freedom Center events. They're terrific. They cost money to rent facilities. They cost, hotel, the actual place where the thing's going to be. That costs money and so on. So there'd have to be a charge for that. But I'd be sure we could keep that manageable. One of the things about the Straton thing would be where to have it. I have a very strong sense of fair play and trying to not take unfair advantage of people. So one part of me says the thing to do would be to have it someplace like Dallas, because just off the top of my head, Dallas is interesting in that nobody has to fly more than 2.5 hours. At least nobody who lives in contiguous United States has to fly more than 2.5 hours. That's nice, which means that nobody's got the long trip and nobody's got the super big airfares. And the second thing about Dallas, as an example, is that everybody flies to Dallas. Dallas is such a hub that you can get pretty good airfares into Dallas. But there are other options too. Denver's, kind of the middle of the country. Denver might be a possibility, but it should be someplace that's easy to get to. Now, there is an advantage to doing them in Los Angeles, big advantage to doing them in Los Angeles, not just to me. If I do them in Los Angeles, I can have I can bring a lot of guests and a lot of friends and just have people drop by because they live here. If we go to someplace like Dallas, then we got to fly them there and we got to house them. And if I'm asking people to come by for an afternoon, do a panel, that's one thing. If I'm asking somebody to get on a plane, be gone for 2 days and go to Dallas, that's something else. So we're going to start looking into all these things and start figuring out what this is going to cost. And I think that Straton could likely happen, late summer. I'm going to see if I can find. I know somebody who's very good at this kind of thing, and start looking into what it would cost and what the tickets would be, and see if we can start working some deals with airlines where you get a discount code, that kind of thing. I'm not the first person to do these things. And the beautiful thing about Straton is you don't have to knock it out of the park the first year, right? You can do it for 10 people in the back of a La Quinta someplace. But I think we'll probably get more than 10. And we can look at what the demand is, and if it gets bigger, we make it bigger. And every year, presumably, it would get bigger, and so we'll make it bigger every year. But the main thing I'd have to figure out with Straton is what what we would be able to bring. Precious Snowflake just pointed out something to me, that it's cheaper to fly to Vegas. That may be possible. I know Vegas, I don't know if they actually physically subsidize the rates or whether so many carriers go into Vegas and the traffic is so good into Vegas that the rates are lower. But anyway, Los Angeles is a bad choice in terms of most people live east. Everybody lives east of Los Angeles, or Santa Monica anyway. And it's a 5-hour flight, and it's expensive, and LA is not a particularly fun town, but there are some advantages. So anyway, we're going to work out the details of that. But I'd like to do one. I want to do one this year. I think it'd be fun. So we'll figure out where we're going to put it and where we're going to go, and then we'll figure out what the 2 days look like. Which leads me to the final thing I'll say before I take any questions. And just taking a shower earlier today, which I do once a week or two, whether I need it or not. And I was in the shower. Everybody's, I know some people are really tired of me talking about RK, and I'm not going to be talking, I don't think, much about it right just yet. But see, RK is not a topic for me. RK is a language. It's math to me. It's like saying, well, gee, Bill, you sure seem, I don't want to hear another talk about calculus. If we all understand calculus, then there are topics that we can discuss that aren't calculus, but that use calculus, because it is a profoundly, profoundly, profoundly useful theory. And Brian Moore says it's going to be the worst produced convention in the world. That's right, just like the Stratosphere Lounge. But in the shower today, I thought, I actually think the more I start tweaking around this thing and the more I start thinking about it, the more I think that maybe Straticon would be kind of a thing where it's not like starting RK. It would just be like the first part of the first day would be to get the language out there and then start figuring out what's going on. So maybe the Straticon is about, what's going on, what's happening. Not with an exclamation point, because that'd be a 70s TV show, but question mark, what's happening? Because if you know what's happening, you can have a better idea of what do we do about it. Maybe that's how we would do it. Kind of thinking on the fly here, but maybe day one of Straticon is what's happening? What's going on? What are we seeing? Why are we seeing it? We've seen it before historically. What is actually transpiring? And then day two is, well, what the hell are we going to do about it? And that would be kind of fun. So anyway, that's it. It's almost an hour worth of explanation there, but I think that's the plan. So I'll just tell you straight out, we got expecting to get a lease quickly. I expect to see it in May. Time over target's going to happen. Bill Me's going to happen. Boy, Speakeasy's awful good. Thanks again. Is going to happen. 2 firewalls, 1 firewall a week, is all the stuff's going to happen. And once I get that, I've got the DVDs. I can start, flogging memberships a little harder than I have, because I don't feel like I'd be making a promise I can't keep. Everything I want to deliver is deliverable. So that's the sort of the master plan. And I think it's a good one. I'm really excited about it because it really just gives me a couple of shoot deadlines a week, and actually I can produce a lot more work with a lot less stress, which would be the way I'd like to do things, frankly. So that's the plan, and we're going to see them happen. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a week of that members only content up when we make the announcement. It's going to be like, here's the announcement. We'll make some changes to the website, a few changes. But what I want to have is I want to have a week of all of these content that are member-only content, and I want that first week's content to be available to everybody so that everybody can just see it. If you were a member, this is what it would look like. So we'll try to get a week of stuff banked before we make the announcement so that you can all go to the website and see here's what the show looks like, and you can make a much more intelligent decision about whether or not you want to sign up for this thing. So that's the plan, and there we go. It's time to take some questions. Patty Ann says, we know how busy you are, but we rarely seem to know what it is you are actually busy doing. This was the problem I just mentioned in the beginning of the show. Busy all the time, not sure exactly what I was doing. I'd like to see daily updates on your activities, especially speaking engagements. You can call it Where in the World is Whittle. That's great. We'll put me in a little striped shirt and a little wool hat and round glasses and figure out where the hell I am. One of the nice things about getting all this stuff together is I will definitely be updating my speaking page and appearance page more than I have been. It's one of the things I'm going to hand off to my assistant. And you're absolutely right about that, Patty Ann. I know it's a heartbreaking thing for a lot of people, and for me too, to find out that, oh yeah, I was in town a week ago, and I just didn't mention it or post it. So physical things like the speaking engagements, which are down considerably, I think, are good. It's a little more manageable. So we'll put a list of where we're actually going to be doing the live events and the speaking events and so on. Here's one from a guy named Joshua Tiemans, who says, since you love talking about Rho Kappa, RK, so much, how about you invite Anonymous Conservative over to do some content for you, or perhaps even a new written video segment called RK Analysis or something like that? I mentioned this briefly in terms of the Stratocon thing. I've decided I'm going to just do I think I'm probably going to do a DVD on RK. I need to talk to Anonymous Conservative about it. I mean, I guess from a strict sense, I don't really owe him anything. He wrote a book. It's a theory, and I can enlarge and comment on that theory, but needless to say, I feel like I need to figure out some sort of arrangement with him because it's basically his work. But I've read the book. I'm reading it the second time, and I'm getting a much deeper understanding of it. And I think the thing to do is to really do something along the lines of what we did with Eat the Rich, where my buddy Iowa Hawk, who is not a slouch in the writer department, he's a better writer than I am. Basically, what we would do is take these concepts and get them clarified and really boiled down, really refined and clear. And I get the feeling that this is not something that I want to do in front of a green screen. I think this is something that needs to be kind of shot outdoors. The kind of thing has to happen sitting like on a hill overlooking the Hollywood sign, and talk about it, or in a car as we're driving down the road, or sitting on the beach. That more like kind of those old British documentaries about like what was the one that had such a big effect on me? Was it The Ascent of Man, I guess? Oh, I saw that in college. It really changed my life. And Cosmos, that kind of feel, right? Where the original Cosmos, anyway, where you got a guy who's basically explaining things, but you're in interesting locations and you're doing it live, and then you can bring in all the graphics and video you want, that kind of thing. Because I think, frankly, this is really profound. So I think that's a whole video series, but I'm sure not going to be worried about that right now. I got enough things I got to get launched here and get those things manageable on a weekly schedule. So, but yes, there is going to be somewhere downstream an RK thesis, and hopefully we'll have a companion book for it too. Kevin Jordan says, Bill, I'm a great admirer of your work and also a new father. Thank you very much and congratulations. He says he's got a two-part question. In a difficult time when the economy, political policies, and societal values seem transient and decreasingly stable, any advice for young parents working their tails off to begin careers and provide for a baby or multiples while trying to insulate them from the ever-growing reach of the state? It's not really a programming-related question, but first of all, Kevin, congratulations on the new arrival, and thank you again for the kind words. All I say briefly about that is predict homeschooling, and we've got to find a way to get people who are homeschooling into homeschooling type academies, bring in retired people. That's a whole different project, which I'm not going to have the time to do, but I can certainly be a part of moving and getting started. I think there's probably a 501c3 in there somewhere, kind of an American Academy kind of thing. But first thing I would do is just get them out of school, man. That's the most important thing. Get them out of public school, because they are desperately now trying to inculcate everybody they can from birth. That's what happens at the left. They know they can't. They know that people don't naturally like R-type values. People like individualism and heroism and freedom and all these other things. So they've got to get them early, and they got to stay on them, and they got to keep that guilt up and that scare up and that terror up and that herd instinct up and that peer pressure up. Got to do all of that. So I'd say get them out of school. But the main thing was the second question, which Kevin suggested, which is, would you consider a section of the site dedicated to providing social media attention to organizations or persons that have taken up the mantle of building parallel competing structures like private home schools, aviation transportation programs, security regulatory organizations that will eventually grow to neutralize state elitism? We need a cultural hub to see how successful organizations are being formed and instituted so that the rest of us can compare notes. That's a great idea. To some degree, Kevin, the Common Sense Resistance is something like that, but the Common Sense Resistance also has a bit of a kind of a sci-fi kind of a feel. It's almost a little slightly role-playing thing, which is fun and cool, especially when we start putting out content and get to the movie on that and all that jazz. As far as having an area on my site to do it, I'd love to do it. I think that's probably its own site, to be honest with you. And I don't mean to put too fine a point on this whole issue. I genuinely don't. But if we can get the memberships up, that's somebody I can hire. I know just the person who'd be great at that. And they would be coordinating, maybe it's a subset of the site, probably its own site, which we can, have people come to and help each other. As I say, the Common Sense Resistance is kind of like that, but Common Sense Resistance is very next wave, very new. I don't know where that thing's going yet. This is something that should be done now. We should be doing now. And so if I can afford to do that, I'm going to make a note about that, actually, because I know exactly the person to do it. We just got to figure out a way to pay him. So it would be kind of a sort of a clearinghouse, I guess, for people who are trying to make actual efforts in the real world to set up these parallel structures that I've been talking about since the loss of the 2012 election. So that's a grand idea. Kevin, we'll see what we can do about that. Denise Moore says, ever watch MST3K? Did I ever watch MST3K? I love that show. It's my favorite show ever. Mystery Science Theater 3000. How about rolling some C-SPAN type footage while you and a couple of nudnik robots spout peanut gallery comments, voiceovers, and such? Somebody hired Clavin and I to do that to the thing that Tom Hanks narrated about the wonders of Obama's first term. And that didn't turn out as well as I thought it would have, because that kind of thing is actually hard. That effortlessness on the part of Mystery Science Theater with these bots just kind of, sitting around making these comments and these riffs looks effortless. And that's a testament to how brilliant that show was and how well written it was. Mostly by Mike Nelson and Joel Hodgson, but the other guys were writers too. Fact of the matter is they sat down and broke those things down. They broke them down and wrote the lines, and they treated it like a term paper. They had to really work at it. And I don't know if I've got, I don't have time to at least do that immediately. But it does go to something that's coming up in a minute, another question. So Denise Moore, it's a great idea. I think the closest we'll be able to come to that is on something like Speakeasy, where if somebody says, hey, what do you think of the latest, scandal video or something, then I think, the whole purpose of the Speakeasy show, thanks again, Buck, I love that name. Unless I hear something better, I'm going with it. The whole vibe of that once a month audience-based kind of thing would be that kind of smart alecky kind of, sassiness. I do not want that show to be a panel show. I don't want it to be an interview show. I want it to be dialogue on top of dialogue. I want people jumping in and stepping over stuff. I want a lot of, like I said, a lot of towel snapping. I want a lot of attitude. I want all that stuff. So I think that might be something that might be a good compromise for that. We'll see how that show goes. That show's going to be interesting and fun, and I suspect, like with everything else, we're going to have to do a couple episodes to invent how to actually do it. By the way, along the lines of that, figuring out how to do the show by doing the show. I don't have to tell anybody what the original Simpsons looked like when they were on Tracy Ullman, but if you look at the first season of The Simpsons, I can't watch it, even though the writing was terrific. I can't watch it because the animation is just too awful. By season 2, they got better. In season 3, they really got their animation together. And then after 7 years of glory, up until about season 9 or 10, but 7 years of the best writing ever, best comedy writing ever, The Simpsons got more, the animation got better and better and better, and the writing got worse and worse and worse, to the point where the animation now, whenever I see well-animated Simpsons, I just can't stand them because I know there's just no humor there. It's awful. It's a walking galvanized corpse. Would somebody please put The Simpsons out of their misery. Same thing with Family Guy. I can't watch the first season or two of Family Guy. The animation and the voices are so primitive that it's really hard to watch. If you look at the pilot for Mystery Science Theater 3000, I forget who the guy was, J. Elvis somebody or other, but the guy who did the original voice of either Crow or Tom, the first season, the pilot season of Mystery Science Theater is just unwatchable. It's unwatchable. But anyway, that's just a good sign. Same thing for Family Guy, same thing for Simpsons. Most shows, they figure out how to do it right around season 2 or 3. They really start to get the hang of it, and then bam, they're on their way. And then after that, it just gets tired and it's time to go home, but they don't. Zechariah Tiemann says, I'd like to see BillWhittle.com social media integration. Can we expect this anytime soon? Yes, I have to get this new website up. I have to get these new programs up. But I've been working with a really wonderful guy, just a really lovely gentleman who does apps, and we were talking about what a BillWhittle.com app would be. We're talking about something where the app would basically give you a little ding every time there's new content put up. And that we're looking into, although we have to get the content up first, looking into things like podcasting, audio casting, audio books, some of these things I just don't know how to do, but these people do. So that Stratosphere Lounge, for example, could be either done live or just as a streaming audio thing, or it would just be a podcast, or it'd be something on iTunes, or whatever. But yes, there's some talk about doing an app that would allow you to basically do all of these things. It'd basically allow you to listen to some of the stuff streaming, let you know what's going on, that sort of thing. And it's not something that's likely to happen in the next month or two, but it is something we've been talking about. And getting all these things integrated and so on with Twitter and Instagram and all that jazz. So an app would be lovely. And we have a vague sense of what that would look like. And once we get everything else up and going, and hopefully we have a little revenue, start developing some of those things, we'll probably just toss it out into the middle of the wolf pack out there, and you guys can tell us what you want to see. It would be for Android, obviously, and for iTunes, for Apple. Dave Hilton, here's 4 questions that are clustered around the same thing. Dave Hilton says, movie reviews. Definitely. I loved watching and listening to your commentary on past and present films on Declaration Entertainment. We did a series on Declaration Entertainment called Take a Movie to Work, which was an analysis of movies as they affected the culture. And I love doing that show. But of all the stuff I've done, that was by far the most labor-intensive stuff, because I went at it with my former TV editor hat on there. And for example, on Take a Movie to Work, we would do something like, The Last Legion or something. And I had the trailer to work with, and I kept feeling like I had to find the appropriate shots to keep behind me, and I wanted that video going all the time, and then I had to slow frames down, and I had to, it was living hell. It really took almost a week to do the post on that. There's no way we can do that again. At least not with the time constraints we have now. But a movie review show is something that's a possibility. One of the things I learned is not to overpromise. I mean, I've got plans to do Time Over Target. I've got plans to do Bill Me. I've got plans to do Speakeasy. This is the kind of thing I'd like to do again, because I think it's important and I think it's interesting. But it's not something I can do on the immediate horizon. If we can get the schedule to the degree where things are really humming, and we're sitting in our hands, then I'd love to do movie reviews as they apply to the culture. And Nathan Mills says, I guess, some along similar lines, like to discuss conservatism in popular culture more and clue us into any possible events or meetups. So we talked about being a lot more on the ball in terms of where I'm going to be. Maybe that's a little app, It's like this little... Where is Bill right now? Let's see. There's a little Bill icon, and it looks like he's in South Florida. Where is he going to be? That might be something we might have the app do. And Susan Speakman said, how about a pop culture segment that highlights the best of any current conservative ideas, books, movies, musical groups, etc.? So for the time being, I'm going to couple that up with a comment that Fard Muhammad said, which she said, I'd like content with me in it. Well, you're going to get your chance, Fard. Seriously, I wouldn't mind seeing a movie review show, says Fard. So let's just put it this way. As far as these cultural movie review things, right now, for the time being, so I don't overpromise myself, I think what we'll probably do is say that any questions you might have about pop culture or movies or the culture, you'll be able to bring in mostly through either Bill Me or through Speakeasy. Speakeasy would be a perfect place to do it because all the friends I have out here in LA, guys like Jeremy and Andrew Clavin and all the rest of them, are in show business, and some of our celebrity guests are in show business. So maybe the live show would focus significantly more on the pop culture. That's actually a pretty good idea. But I also like the idea of just taking whatever question comes. So they give you a chance to do that. And then again, on Bill Me, you can ask me whatever you want to. We can talk about a particular movie. Hey, Bill, did you see Captain America 2? As a matter of fact, I did. And we'll just have that discussion, split screen, just the two of us. And we'll pull the best sound bites out of that 10-minute thing. And the other 10-minute conversations that we have during the week, we'll pull the best sound bites out of that, edit that down to Best of Bill Me, put that up on YouTube and Facebook on Sundays, and everybody gets to see, the best of it, but they don't get to see all of it. And that's somehow, I think, again, the fairest way I can do this. So for the time being, I don't see any particularly dedicated movie review shows. I'm going to have a lot to do to get this stuff up and going, but there will be an opportunity for you to talk about whatever pop culture things you want to through those avenues. And we can always do special Stratosphere Lounge things. By the way, but let me just go back and mention, I talked about the bigger space is going to allow Stratosphere Lounge to have a much bigger room and a kind of a cool mural behind us, because the new space is just going to be a big edit bay. Big studio/edit bay. I've looked into this with Ustream. I've talked to Desiree about doing it. And one of the things that we're going to do in order to shoot Speakeasy, again, thank you, that's such a great title, is that we're going to have to buy a series of just regular HD cams. They don't have to be anything better than that. So we'll have to probably get a set of matched cameras, maybe 4 or even 5 of them, to cover Speakeasy. And that's within our budget. So the fact that we'll have multiple cameras means that we'll have a better cam than the onboard cam here. And since we're going to have a bigger space, I think we'll be able to turn Stratosphere Lounge into, at least once a month, if not more frequently, we might just have a guest come in, Maybe I'll just do a Strat Lounge with Lyda Loudon for a show, live. And we know how to switch it. We'll have Des or somebody else sitting there with, instead of me doing all the switching, she'll do them. We'll do a 3-camera multicam show, 2-shot, crossing reversals, and that'll be a fun thing to do for more of a one-on-one kind of an interview kind of thing. So that's what I think is going to have happened, which kind of goes to the next 2 questions. What happened to Lyda Loudon? Turns out Lyda's alive and well. I saw her last weekend. Sounds like content from her could help get to millennials. Bill's 100% correct about how to get to them, but a younger face may be able to deliver the message better. We shot a couple of Lyda videos before we went and launched. We had some problems with them in terms of their execution. It's not anything to do with Lyda. It's just a question of they were complex, and they were not. We had just a bunch of technical problems with them. But Lyda is a wonder, and I think Lyda's much better informally. I'm better informally. Everybody's better informally. I think Lyda's going to be a guest on Speakeasy. I think she can be a guest on Stratosphere Lounge, assuming she wants to. And then we can start looking at where the best way to do that. I think the best way to describe what we ended up doing last year was, I think they were way overproduced, and that's my fault. That's entirely my fault. Just overproduced for her and for the message and for everything else. So yeah, assuming she can make the schedule, I think we'll be seeing her in there, because she's a terrific friend of mine. She's really got the goods. She's great person. And Elo Conson says, I'd like to see the TSL become more loungy with actual comfy chairs, fine tobacco, smooth liquor, groovin' tunage, and hot waitresses. That's the end result of the Stratosphere Lounge as a real talk show. I suspect, Aloe, that's what's going to happen is Stratosphere Lounge will become considerably more comfortable and loungy. But the real kind of thing you're talking about here, comfy chairs, liquor, fine tobacco, tunage, no tobacco in California, by the way, not indoors, because then you can be sent to thought crime prison island. is going to end up being in the Speakeasy show, the live show. So you'll get what you want. Probably just split it up into two different areas there. But I think the Stratosphere Lounge is going to be much more open. It's going to be bigger than this little box. So better cameras, that'll help. And and coverage. Coverage is nice. It's one thing to look at, a close-up. Bless your hearts, you lovely people. I mean, you've been staring at this one shot for an hour and 18 minutes. When I was the editor, certainly before I started doing video content at PJTV, and while I was writing Eject in the early days, started there in 2003 and worked there till 2008. That's the first half of my punditry career. My day job, because I was just handing out that content at night, just sending out those essays for free, my day job was as a TV editor, which is part of the filmmaking experience and the part of the filmmaking experience that I liked the least, although over time I've come to realize the power of it and enjoyed it much, much more. But I knew how to edit on a computer, and when I got back to LA the second time, having learned how to edit on a computer and nonlinear editing, television in Los Angeles is a gigantic, enormous beast. And that beast produces 500 or 600 shows a week or something. I don't know what the actual number is, but all across the board. And somebody has to edit every one of them every week. So I got a job. I did a bunch of Discovery Channel documentaries and that kind of thing. But I got a job as the editor on a show called Sunday Morning Shootout on AMC. I love that show. I loved it. I was very, very, very proud of it. It was Peter Bart and Peter Guber. And we did 184 episodes, and I edited 180 of them. One of the things that was fun is you do maybe you'd interview Steven Spielberg or somebody for an hour and 20 minutes, and you had to make that show 23 minutes and 52 seconds every week. It had to be 23 minutes and 52 seconds to the frame, to the 30th of a second. That's a skill set. And another skill set that I learned from doing that show is I learned how to take a conversation and take out the gaps, take out the stuff that's not interesting, boil it down to what really mattered, and then do that seamlessly so that you didn't even know. I mean, I was absolutely astonished at what I could do. Sometimes somebody talk about something, and then 25 minutes later they talk about it again. I'd move that forward, and it was grand. So we're going to apply that same kind of thing to Speakeasy, and we're also going to apply it to some degree to Stratosphere Lounge in terms of coverage. The reason I brought this up is simply to say that I could have Tom Cruise or Steven Spielberg or Clint Eastwood or whoever you want. I mean, the biggest names in Hollywood on that show. And I wouldn't hold a close-up of Steven Spielberg for more than 4 or 5 seconds. Top end. I wouldn't hold it longer than that. Picture has to move. It makes it a lot more interesting. So, getting in the new space with the multicams and having somebody doing the switching means that even the Stratosphere Lounge is going to be a lot more visually interesting than it is already. Michelle Tongyai says, in your career life, not to mention your lifetime, you've had the opportunity to meet and speak with many influential people, either in the political or entertainment field, or maybe both. I love hearing stories about that, but what I find more interesting is when you slip in a story about an unknown person that you just happen to run into in your travels and in your conversation with that person. They tell you a story about themselves that essentially affects you so that you remember that person and their story. Not sure what you'd call it, but would be about the everyday people in life who've influenced you. That's a fantastic idea, Michelle. The nice thing about having a studio space and having everything set up, lights set up, cameras set up, you just walk in, turn things on, is that it allows me to do a lot more of those kind of things. Again, I'm not going to make any promises that I'm not able to keep. So we're not going to announce the new website. I can talk about what it's going to be, but we're not going to promote it until this product's up. Not until I think it's going to be up. When it's up, when a week's stuff is up, ready to go, that's when we're going to make the announcement. So in a case like this, that's something that's kind of like a sort of catch as catch can kind of thing. But I will say this. It did prompt me to remember something I did once at PJTV once, and I thought I'd be doing it a lot more. I adored it. Some of the best work I've ever done. I did a 3-part series there, one show broken into 3 parts, called A Soldier's Story. And man, did I love that show. I love the look of it. I like the talk of it. I believe I'm going to just basically do that. And maybe we'll eventually open it up into, something like, I don't know, we'll call it Fanfare for the Common Man or something. But A Soldier Story, I interviewed a guy named Leon Cooper, who was a Higgins boat commander at Tarawa, and was kind of championing the idea of preserving the Tarawa landing site as an actual battlefield, which it was. Tarawa was just a garbage dump where they went ashore. It's literally a garbage dump. And there are American soldiers buried under parking lots in Tarawa who've never been returned, heroes, this kind of thing. But I got a chance to talk to Leon, and I got a chance to talk to him about what it was like to command a Higgins boat going into combat. And the first segment of that show, it's about a 10-minute segment, I think it's some of the best work I've ever done, only because I have enough history and enough understanding of military history and strategy and tactics, combat. I have enough of a layman's understanding of these things to be able to elicit from the people who are actually there. I can actually get them comfortable enough to talk about what's actually there. And I'm more moved than anybody. When he was talking about, I mean, this happened in real time. I knew he was a Higgins boat commander. I know what a Higgins boat is. I know what happened at Tarawa, and I know what the Pacific War was like. So I thought I'd just ask him some questions, and he'd answer them, and that's pretty much what happened. But what really happened was, as he started talking about the experience, it would trigger things in me that I'd never thought of before. And I don't think your generic network news guy has the background to do this. He would, for example, say, well, that was the first wave, we went back for the second wave. And I think if you're like, Joe Blow interviewing him for Channel 7 News, because he's, whatever, I think he's, oh, okay. But because I have enough of an understanding of what these guys went through, in real time, he said, we'll go back for the second wave. And I thought, my God, man, two things just occurred to me I never really thought about before. All those guys who went ashore, you got the opening of Saving Private Ryan, and God bless Steven Spielberg for that, because if you really want to know what it's like, that's as close as you're going to get. Thank God. So you've got all these guys with all of that stress and fear and stuff going ashore on the first wave, and they got to go through all that hell that you saw at the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. And then I just realized, and you, Leon, you and two other guys on the boat you don't have to go any further, that's true, but you got to back up, you got to go back to the boat, and you got to come in and do it again. You got to do it 3 times, 4 times. And I thought, my God, you actually had to go through that 3 or 4 times. That was the first thought I had, which he reacted to. And then the second thought I had, which knocked the wind right out of me and gave us the best moment of that show, and maybe the best moment of TV I've ever done, certainly the best interview moment I've ever done, was I said to him, holy God, and again, this happened in real time. I said, I just realized as we're talking, Leon, that not only do you have to go back, but the first wave doesn't know what's coming. They've been told by the Navy and by everybody, all their commanders and Marine commanders, don't worry, boys, we just blasted the daylights out of them for 6 days and we've shelled them. There's not going to be 3 pieces of them intact. It's going to be a cakewalk. You're just going to walk in there and just take over the positions over their burning corpses kind of thing. But since he knew how badly screwed up the first one was because of a miscalculation of tides, and seen so many guys go down on the first wave, not only did Leon have to go back under fire in the second wave, which is the entire set of courage a second time, and then the entire set of courage and guts a third time, but I said, it's just dawned on me what should have been obvious to me the whole time, but never was. You're going back for the second wave now, because everybody thinks about the first wave. You're going back for the second wave, and you're seeing these kids coming down the cargo netting into the boat, and they don't know what they're heading for, but you do. You were there 20 minutes ago. And I said to him on the show, you're Sharon, you're or Charon, however it's pronounced, you're the boatman on the river Styx. You're taking these guys to their death. They don't know they're going to their death, but you do. And he goes, yeah, I'm Charon. I think he was the one who said it. Actually, not me. He said, I'm Charon. I'm the boatman on the river Styx. I'm taking these guys to their death. And what do I do? Tell them? Is that going to help them? No. I just looking at these faces, and I've just been on the beach. I know that, large number of these guys are going to get the living life shot out of them. And I'm going to watch it. And maybe the whole boat will go up because they had all the mortars zeroed in. He was an amazing guy. He was at EWO, which is almost like an afterthought. Oh, and incidentally, I was also in the first wave at EWO. Oh, really? Yeah. The kind of modesty that all these great heroes end up with. And he was talking about being on the island, saw the first flag raising, then he saw the second flag go up, the Flags of Our Father flag, whole thing. He said, walk up there and take a look. And Leon was saying he was going up Mount Suribachi because we'd secured it. We had our flag up there on the top. He's walking up the mountain along a trail. All of a sudden he hears conversation, echoey conversation, and it's in Japanese, and he realizes the whole mountain is hollow, and it's probably time to whistle a friendly tune and get off that mountain, which is what he did. So it's apparently, thank you very much, Brent. It's pronounced Karen. Karen. So anyway, Michelle, to answer your question about common people, I'd like to do that. I don't know if it's something I can do regularly, but I'd like to pick up the soldier story. I'd like to talk to Mike Schlitz about that and some other people. And I have to check with PJTV about that in terms of ownership or how that would work. And if, I can always just name it something different. I just like the soldier story name quite a lot. And then I think, a show about common people is really, really good. Because nobody... See, this is the thing. This is why left-wingers are elitists, because they think the only people that really matter are Harvard-educated college professors. And everybody else are just a bunch of rubes out there in flyover country. The essence of my conservative beliefs became clear to me when I started talking to you fine people, back when I was writing Eject, Eject, Eject. And I realized there's not a person out there in that room that I'm looking at right now. There's 200 people or 20 people or 2 people or 2,000 people. There's not a person in this room right now who doesn't know 100 things better than I do. And everybody's got a story to tell, and it'd be nice to explore it. It's not going to happen early, but I'd like to see it happen, and I'd like to make it a kind of thing where we could just, that should be for everybody. But having a studio and a space will really help our ability to do that. Brent Cates says, content suggestion, 2 exclamation points. The Drop Box, a secret dead drop where CSR operatives, Common Sense Resistance operatives, can drop tips, hints, links, etc. All CSR members would find useful or just cool, like sales on peppers, prepper supplies, gadgets, etc. All bill approved, of course. I'll bring that up only to say this. Brent, the Common Sense Resistance is going to be a completely separate entity. When we get to the point where we're actually shooting it, needless to say, the content will go up there on BillWhittle.com and for people to see. But CSR is going to be its own world. It's going to have its own website. It's going to have its own everything. I'm still thinking about the idea we mentioned earlier about being kind of a clearinghouse for things that are currently ongoing. But I just wanted to bring that up to say that Common Sense Resistance thing is going to have its own website, and that website's going to be skinned to be part of the game, for lack of a better word. It's going to look like a website. As a matter of fact, just a very, very brief departure on this. I've been having a conversation with a web designer who did a brilliant, brilliant job on our website. And I've been talking to him about what the Common Sense Resistance website would look like. And the entire, if you've been a big fan of the Common Sense Resistance talks, you realize the essence of the Common Sense Resistance in terms of structure, not in terms of message, but in terms of structure, is that it is utterly non-hierarchical, which means that there is no central computer and there is no central website. So I was talking to a web designer about what it would look like to have a custom website template that we could push out to everybody. And so that every single wrench in the Common Sense Resistance, they don't have to by any means. That's the beautiful thing about this. No coercion, no mandates, no laws, no licensing, no restrictions, no nothing. That's restricting the power of it. The power of it is take an idea, push it out there, and let tens of thousands, if not millions of people bring their own genius to the idea. But what I did think was important would be to find a way to build a website so that my CSR website was functionally no different than yours. In fact, they would basically be the same website, the same structure. And what I would like those websites to look like is, in the broadest terms, I'd like them to be something where it communicates with other websites so that whatever improvements or updates are available are upgraded or not on the individual person's decision. So if you happen to be CSR Buick and you've got csrbuick.com, you look at the website, here's the latest version of the thing that communicates with all the other things. And then if somebody's come up with a mod or something that you like, if you like it, great. And if it's a really great mod, everybody does it and it gets incorporated across the system or not. All that stuff. So I don't really fully understand how that works, but I do think that the thing I'm sure about is that if the master mailing list exists in one place, that's a failure philosophically. It's much, 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 much easier technically, but philosophically it's a failure. Philosophically, there should be no center. There should be no headquarters. That's the idea. The idea should be that everybody's contributing and that Darwinian selection is working on the network at all times. Somebody comes up with an idea for something, it goes out into the real world, other people try it, some people try it, some people don't. It gets tested, maybe it's a much better idea, maybe it's a catastrophic failure idea. It's not being pushed out from the top down to everybody. It's completely voluntary, it's completely experimental, and it's mutating fast. That's the one thing I feel about the structure. Now, again, the message and the morality of the common sense resistance is completely different than the structure of it. But the one thing that I feel 100% in my bones is that anytime I have a thought about centralized command or official licensing or this is what it's going to look like, anytime I have those kind of natural thoughts, that's what you got to watch out for. That's what you got to watch out for. And so I'm trying hard to make sure that that doesn't happen and let the thing invent itself. So anyway, that's the common sense resistance as far as new programming goes. We will do that movie either first or second. I have to tell you, just in the last week, I started to think as I open up this common sense resistance movie idea, and it gets better and better and better. It also gets more and more complex and more expensive. Maybe we go back to Big Bad Problems first, which I've never gotten into real details with you guys, but I absolutely adore that movie. So anyway, moving on. Steve Heinze says something history related, ? And Steve, I was going to take that separately, but I think Soldier Story covers a lot of that. That's kind of where my first love of history would be military history, and talk to some of these guys. Some of these guys are going fast. I think there's 2 Doolittle Raiders left, and that was the last I heard. There may be fewer than that now. I'd love to capture a lot of those stories before they go. Let me tell you why I took this question, though. I have my PJTV deliverables, which I love. I love doing the shows. I wouldn't be here without them. Afterburner, needless to say, and Trifecta with my friends and all that other stuff I wouldn't be here without it. And they're great people, and I love working with them, and that's not going to change. But the whole reason that there's a BillWhittle.com and subscription-based BillWhittle.com is because there are things that I want to do that PJTV either doesn't want to do or doesn't have the resources to do or has no interest in doing or whatever. And in order to get those things done, I have to have resources. I have to have a studio, which is coming. I have to have revenues, which we hope is coming. So I want to combine this Steve Heinze question with the next question, Ray Schneider, as something that I'm not going to be promising. I have been talking about things that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do them. Those 3 shows I mentioned are going to happen. But let me just speculate on some kind of things I'd like to do if we had the revenues. Steve Heinze said something history-related, and Ray Schneider said, living in the future seems like an interesting theme. The common sense resistance is one example of a dystopian future, but one I should also look for the alternative of futures with the restoration of freedom, free enterprise, and virtue, as you suggested on a Trifecta recently. So let me tell you about 2 more. I'll just give you a quick thumbnail on them. 2 more shows that I would like to do someday. Be crystal clear on this. I'm not telling you that this is going to happen when we boot the website up in 2 to 3 weeks. But what I'd like to do someday, and if I have the resources through the membership base, then I'll do them. I wanted to do both of these shows. I forget what did I call the first one. I forget. Let's just say it was called Adventures in Tomorrowland. This show is an interesting idea. One show I wanted to do was a series of commentaries, and I wanted to do them. I wanted to do them as a series of videos that were shot so that they looked like they were being shot in about 1964. And I wanted to do them with they've got a terrific 3D set of the old computer banks, you know, with the tapes and these kind of things spinning in the giant old banks of computers. And this is a subtle thing, really. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a show where I was playing a professor talking about what life would be like in the year 2015. So if you shot it in 1965, let's say, it's 50 years in the future. And by talking about what we thought life would be like, it would give us a chance to make some interesting comments about what life actually was like. For example, if he's talking about the idea, I know this is going to sound strange, that everybody in the house would have a portal into a master computer that would hold all of human achievement, all the information available to the human race would be available to you through one of these machines, which will probably cost, who knows, as much as your house, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. But nevertheless, if you could afford one of these things, you would use this visor screen to connect to the sum total of human knowledge, which of course is the internet, which everybody has access to. But set in 1965, then you could say, if everybody in 2015 had the ability to have the sum total of human knowledge, poverty would be eliminated because every single person in the world who had one of these things would be able to use this pathway to gain a free education. If you wanted to become an electrician, you'd learn how to do it that way. You'd be able to do it. So what you're basically doing is you're showing how the internet is a miracle that no one is using. If the internet had been dropped into people's laps in 1965, you like to think that people would say, my God, I can better myself. I get a degree online. I can learn how to become a plumber or mechanic or whatever for free. It's a subtle way to do it. But that's a cool set of shows. You could take that same argument out to transportation, that same argument out to politics. How wonderful the future would be if only these things happen. And the point of it is these things did happen, and the future's not wonderful. The future's worse. Why? That's a clever way to do that. And I love the idea of video that looks like, you know, it's got the raster scan kind of, you know, old TV thing with a test pattern, a kind of original Stratosphere Lounge kind of thing, and the computers in the background and the white lab coat, kind of that tell me professor kind of thing. Fantastic. And that would be one idea. And then another idea that I wanted to do, I got to be careful about overusing this term, but the original title of it was called Tales from the Stratosphere. And the Stratosphere would be something, those of you who go back with Eject, know that back around 2007 or so, I was working on an idea for something called Ejectio, which was sort of this kind of Second Life kind of community. And what I wanted to do was a series of videos that would be nothing but philosophy, pure philosophy. Nothing political so much or timely so much as the core value things. And this just be a different skin, but the idea would be it would be a gigantic tower that was, you know, 500 stories tall, and up at the top of this tower was a dome. And inside this dome, you'd walk out, and the background of that would be kind of this, you'd be literally in the clouds or above the clouds, and it would be set, you know, 20, 30 years in the future, a clean, kind of a lovely future, and then you'd have nothing but cloud backgrounds, and it would be a way to kind of say, these things aren't even up for discussion. This is not a political argument. This is like, here is why capitalism works. Here is why, you know, whatever. And that would be more of a philosophical thing. So those are a couple of ideas about kind of content that I might be able to do in the not-too-distant future, again, based on whether or not we can get the resources made available through the website. In any event, that's the plan. We have, like I said, we've got application in. I think we'll probably see the lease agreement signed the next day or two. According to the lease agreement, they said they might be able to get us into the new building as early as June 1st. I'm much going to lean on them hard to see if we can move that up. So just to summarize, we are going to be doing 3 new shows in order to drive up the value of membership. Those of you who are already members who've been doing this for almost 7-8 months now, you have no idea the gratitude that I feel and that Desiree and all the other people feel, and certainly me personally, and especially, sorry about the itchy nose today, especially the grace you've shown for the delays. With that said, what I want to do is pretty clear. I want to add 3 new shows, Time Over Target, Bill Me, and Speakeasy. And I want to have examples of those shows available to everybody on the website before we make the announcement, so that that's the lesson of what we learned from the opening. The lesson was don't put anything up for sale that you don't have in inventory. Just don't. Your good intentions and your estimations are noble, but reality has a funny way of interfering with that. And I can't tell you, I know I've talked about it 5 or 6 times, but you probably will never really truly know. The stress is not the word. It corroded my spirit to have that DVD be delayed as long as it actually corroded it, and really just made me want to hide under a rock, honestly. I was so embarrassed and ashamed of being of taking so long to live up to a promise that I'd made. And the response from those of you who do those DVDs is just, I expected no less, although it was always, as usual, a very pleasant surprise. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to bring those 3 shows up. We're going to put up a week's worth of content for free, so anybody can see it. And then we're going to basically do members-only daily content in the form of Time Over Target, which will be more of a hard news commentary kind of thing, available every morning, 5 days a week. And then a much more personal Bill Me in the afternoon for you to come home and relax over. Best of Time Over Target on Saturday, best of Bill Me on Sunday. Once a month, that's manageable. Once a month, we're going to hire out a space. We're going to light it. We're going to bring some of our friends down. We'll invite people to come down. There'll probably be some modest ticket price to help us with the rental of the space, and we will have 8 segments of conversation with friends, and you're included as friends, because this will not be like The Daily Show. I'm going to make this a condition of being a guest on the show. And by the way, we're just better people than these guys are. I've heard about how Bill Maher treats his audience, and some of these people, rush me out of there. No. One of the conditions of coming to do the Speakeasy show, thank you, is to say the show is going to take anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours to tape, somewhere in that ballpark. But when the show is over, we mix it up with the crowd and talk and get pictures taken and shake hands and chat for another half hour, whatever it takes. It's a 3-hour night. So I'll give you a chance to meet some of my friends who are your friends too, if you can get out here and do that. And Straticon. That sure could be fun. In any event, that's episode 69, and an hour and 46 minutes of promises that I mean to keep. So we're going to put it up, and then we'll shut up, and we'll let the content do the talking. Speaking of letting the content do the talking, that's probably about all we're going to do for tonight. Episode 69 of the Stratosphere Lounge. Who'd have thunk such a thing was possible? Thanks again for everything. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for your suggestions. As always, Time Over Target is a great title name. Was suggested by one of you fine people. Speakeasy is a great title. Thanks again for that tonight. And we look forward to getting a chance to meet all of those of you who we haven't met in person yet, either through a convention or through coming to see one of the shows, or at the very least through one-on-one time on a Skype kind of thing. That's exactly what it's going to be. Bill Me's going to come in through either Skype or FaceTime. We'll figure it out. And it'll be good to have a chance to talk to all of you guys. As always, my entire life I owe to your kindness and support, and And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more stuff. And as I said, it's a weird thing, but this will actually, I think, lower my stress levels, because I stress like a crazy man about not living up to not only my word, but my potential. So I think we'll work smarter, and then, hey, you know what? We get these things done. I can go home at 6 o'clock, and I don't have to take it home with me. And then I can have the weekends, and I don't have to take it home with me then either. I think it'll actually do me an awful lot of good. So that's Stratosphere Lounge, episode 69. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll probably do a regular general grab bag next week and figure out where we're going after that. So y'all be careful out there, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.